Welcome to Hardly Initiated. It is your host, Tyshawn Jackson, here on a Wednesday night, debate night.
Facts.
On Hardly Initiated with my co-host, Ryan Ketchens.
My favorite episode.
We have an episode for you guys tonight. On the monogamous side, I have the brother, a returner here, Damon Richardson, and he will be debating the two brothers, Pete Rambo and Mike Allen, on whether or not polygamy is biblical. Let's get it.
All right, guys, we are coming in with a really good one. Coming in a little hot this evening. Just the last week, I guess it was, we had a debate on a Tuesday evening, I think it was, when Brother Mike Allen and I were guests on Hardly Initiated to have a debate or discussion. It was actually structured as a debate, though it was very fast moving, and I'm going to pull a lot of good pieces from this that are worth discussing. But tonight, I want to bring you probably the biggest doozy of the whole evening, and that was when Pastor, and I'm going to put that in quotes because I'm telling you what, he's working on his PhD, but has a real tough a real challenge with trying to understand the word and what the Most High actually says. And he gave some advice here that I'm telling you what, it will curl your hair. So buckle your seatbelts. You're not going to want to miss this. This is a really good one. If you like what we have, please hit the like, share, subscribe button. Share this, pass this around, let people know. Great discussions going on. But I want you to hear this. So to set the stage for you, we're at the end of the second segment. There were actually 3 questions that were posed for discussion and debate with a very fast format, a 3-minute intro, 5-minute rebuttal, 10-minute discussion, or 15-minute discussion, and then a 3-minute conclusion. And in the conclusion, the pastor here says something that just will curl your hair. But before that, Mike Allen gives a conclusion for our side of the discussion. And specifically, the question is, and he'll reiterate it right here, but the question is polygamy a good solution for single women in the church? And they're using the term polygamy. My viewers know that polygyny is the proper term for a man having more than one wife. But here we go. Buckle your seatbelts.
And can you repeat, just so for the audience as well, the question for this?
Yes, so
question?
this one is polygamy a solution for single women? Give me your final thoughts and close us out on this topic.
It's important to note that everybody, the audience, the moderators, the other side, everybody in the room agreed that there are more single women in the church than there are single men, and it's a challenging situation, and solutions are not forthcoming in the church. Everybody agreed with this, even Damon Richardson, the other side of this debate. So here we go with Mike's conclusion, and then we're going to hear what Pastor Damon thinks is a solution, and it will curl your hair.
How is it not a solution for single women? I mean, when you really consider the numbers, that is about probably 80% of the women in churches today that are single. And they are told in many churches, be married to Jesus, pray, sow seed in the offering basket, right? Step out on your faith, and the Father is going to bring you a man. And the problem is the only alternative that many of these women find themselves after hitting the wall is they find themselves leaving out of the congregation or on their way to church. They'll run into a young man who is not a believer, or they go out to the club, or they get introduced to somebody by one of their friends that they knew from back in the days. And then you know what happens. They wound up getting involved with men who are not believers. They become what is called, quote unquote, unequally yoked. And as a result of it, a lot of times they become single mothers. because the man is not godly enough, right, to take them on, does not have the bearings, does not have the decency to cover them as a husband. And so as a result of it, many of these women are finding themselves having children that are fatherless. Many of these women are finding themselves within the church today, and even within the society today. If you look at the numbers,
Mike, Isaiah 4:1 is future prophecy.
yes,
In
yes,
that day, 7 women will
yes,
take hold of one man and
yes,
say, we will
yes,
make our own bread, make our own clothes, only
yes,
give us your name and take away our reproach. That's
yes.
future prophecy, and that's the solution right there, because what's happening today is Isaiah chapter 3.
And as we talked about earlier, that even within the, I just want to finish this statement. Even when I talked about earlier, in terms about feminism and egalitarianism and how the culture is producing women that are less feminine but more masculine, that was the problem of those women. If you go to the first, second, and the third chapter, before you get to the fourth chapter of Isaiah, these were women who were haughty. These were women who were domineering. These were women who were independent. These were women who, in some cases, they didn't need a man. And that is the language of many women, not only outside the church, but inside the church as well. So I would say that single women definitely would benefit from having a good, God-fearing, godly man who is capable to take them on into his household. That is polygynous.
Wow.
There you have.
Mike made an excellent summation there. And I had to interject Isaiah 4:1, because that's got to be the scriptural underpinning. And if you go through the rest of that chapter, all 6 verses of Isaiah chapter 4, you find that the daughters of Zion, this is a righteous thing that happens, and this is how the daughters of Zion are redeemed. And we can tell this is future prophecy. It has never happened. It has not happened yet, but it will happen. And so even Damon Richardson, he was like, no, he's shaking his head no, trying to figure it out. But you could tell he was looking down and thumbing through his Bible or his phone, scrolling for that passage, trying to figure it out right quick. So I thought that was kind of funny. For what was going on at that point. So let's hear what the moderators have to say, and then continue with the next portion of this.
So we'll close us out on your final thoughts and your closing statements on the topic here tonight. Is polygamy a solution for single women? Damon, you got it.
Yeah, so again, I haven't heard anything that's really truly attractive to women in what was presented as a benefit for single women. Now, they will argue that, because there are more women.
A note, here's something. The issue isn't about trying to be attractive to women. Is this something where really God's solution has to pass the feels test for women, or is it that our culture has so inculcated them with a selfish, monogamy-only mindset that they're willing to sacrifice their own sisters, as you're getting ready to do, on the altar of convenience? So just check this thing out. I'm going to back it up about 3 seconds here, just so we hear exactly what he's got to say.
Argue that, because there are more women than men, and it's a much easier kind of solution. So they're really arguing on the basis of what's more convenient and what's easy. I will argue this, that it would actually be more beneficial for a believing woman to marry an unbelieving man than for her to get into a honest relationship. I would argue that
mind
would be
blower.
more. No, here's why. Well, here's why.
Missionary dating.
Yeah. Here's why. Number one,
missionary dating. He agrees.
I would obviously counsel against it. I don't think that is the ideal thing. But here's what can't be said about that. And this is the point I'm making. What cannot be said about that is that that's sinful. The New Testament presents that as an unwise option, but not a wrong option. Polygyny is different. Polygyny is a wrong option. And so if women were in...
At this point in the evening, he still hasn't produced a single verse that says that it's sin or even that it's wrong. It just violates his social norms, his social construct. And so he's really struggling at this point, but he's going to say that women, the best thing that women can do is that they can go out and marry an unbeliever and be unequally yoked. This is just mind-blowing territory. And this is someone who supposedly is an apologist, somebody who supposedly is a theologian, somebody who supposedly knows Scripture. To me, this was absolutely and totally mind-bending to hear him say this right here.
I will argue this, that it would actually be more beneficial for a believing woman to marry an unbelieving man.
Completely blew me away, but he keeps going. He's going to double down on it. You know, here we've got clear Scripture not to send your daughters to intermarry with the pagan in the land. This is a command to Israel, and it's the same thing today. We don't send our daughters out and say, hey, go marry foreigners, go marry pagans, go marry unbelievers. But that's what he's saying to do, because that's his solution for the single women in the church. Mind blowing. But we'll continue. Let's take a listen to this.
Dire straits in between only two options, which is really a false dilemma anyway. If the one option was just an unwise, where it's a crapshoot, might work out good, may not, and an option that's biblically wrong, it would be the unwise option, because at least she would know that there are no scriptures that command her not to do that. There's not a single scripture that says that a believer marrying an unbeliever is sinful. While it may be unwise, it is not sinful. Marrying in a polygynous situation, that would be sinful, because it violates God's creative law. And his creative law is one man and one woman.
That was a very, very bold statement from Damon.
Yeah.
But a lot of people were saying that they actually look like they agree here in the chat.
That was tricky.
I would love to just make the comment that God very clearly told Israel not to send their daughters outside of the land.
That's right.
Outside to a
Right.
That is gross sin.
That's right. Which is the reason why the Levirate law system is put in place, so that you have men, even the brother of a man who dies before his wife and him produces any sons, that remaining brother who lost his brother is commanded, whether if he's single or married, to take on his brother's grieving wife and to produce seed in her after his brother's name, so that his brother's name can be continued within Israel. That same principle carries right on over into the New Testament. It has never changed, which is the reason why Paul speaks against being unequally yoked.
Wow. And there we find out exactly what's going on with Christian churches and what pastors in Christian pulpits actually believe. They're willing to sacrifice single women on the altar of convenience and let them go out to unbelievers, because statistically, if you look at it statistically, if a woman comes to faith first in a married relationship, there's only about a 15 or 20% chance that the man will. But if the man comes first, there's like a 90 or 95% chance that the woman will, because women follow their man. And so you send a believing woman out into the world to go find a man that is an unbeliever or is a pagan, whatever you want to call it. The bottom line is she's gone. She will almost always leave the church. Her faith will be weaker. She will walk away from it. And that's what Pastor Damon Richardson is willing to do, is say, no, let them go out, because, well, there's no command against that. It's only unwise. But he can't find a command against polygyny. He couldn't find a single command against polygyny. God regulates it. He says, if you're going to do it, this is how you do it righteously. And he gives us example after example after example. All of Israel is built on the foundation of polygyny. Half or more of the biblical authors, polygynous. Kings, polygynous. Judges, polygynous. Moses, polygynous. The patriarchs, polygynous. But Damon Richardson says he would prefer to send his daughters out to non-believers. That's what the church has. That's their solution for single women. Now you know why things are so messed up in the church. They simp. Simps. Simps in the pulpit and simps in the pews. For King and Kingdom, I bid you shalom.